wireless charging.
So welcome back to the channel. Today what I want to talk to you guys about is bringing your Foxbody Mustang into the 21st century. Now what I mean by that is I am in the process of installing one of LMR's cup holder center console systems, right? And there's the cup holders here. With this, you lose the ashtray area, and in the ashtray area you have your cigarette lighter, which is realistically the only way that we have of charging our cell phones these days. So without that 12-volt plug, you obviously have to put a 12-volt charging system somewhere else if you want the ability to charge your phone. But what I've thought about doing is using this area, which is, I think LMR blew this up so you could fit a larger smartphone in there. What I want to do is add one of these. Now this guy here is a high-speed 3-coil induction fast wireless charger. I'm going to be installing this here on the back of this little compartment, and also following that up with like a high-speed 3.0 charger plug. This is the charger I'm referring to here. I'll link that down in the description below. So if you're interested in going on to Amazon or wherever you like to shop, you can get one of these or find one for yourself. So anyway, I am going to show you how I go about doing this. So if you're interested in doing it yourself, you can get some ideas or copy my idea for that matter. So anyway, follow along and I will show you how I go about doing this. Right, so now we have to find a way to mount this. One needs to take into consideration this charging end, right? And it needs to somehow face where my plug is, right? Because you got to take into consideration your emergency brake comes through here. So having it facing this way is going to be key. Now, I thought about just gluing this in place, right? Whether it be hot glue, JB Weld, whatever. But I'm a little concerned about this rubber surface. Now you want it to be tight here because these things aren't necessarily designed to charge through plastic. But I've checked it, it does do that, so I'm not too worried about that as long as I have this tight. Now, what I'm kind of considering doing here is using some of this, CD player radio banding, and either going across, maybe utilizing these little rubber nubs to hold this in place, or maybe coming crossways and bending this so that it can't move and wobble around, and then mounting this to the bottom of the console piece. At any rate, I'm going to mess around with a couple of different situations here, and I will come back and let you know what I figured out. Okay, so bracket complete. What I've done is taken this radio banding and I have put it in my trusty vise, called on the help of some handy dandy pliers, and I've bent my 90s where I need them to be. So you want this bracket to be nice and tight, right? Because this charging device is designed to have a phone sit right on top of it, and now I'm requesting it to charge through plastic, whatever the thickness of this plastic is. So you got to have your bends nice and tight. Obviously securing this thing as tight as possible against the bottom of this is going to be key to wireless charging success. So trying to decide how I want to stick this there now. Obviously I don't want to screw it or bolt it. I don't want any bolts coming through. So it's going to be a tacky substance. Currently considering JB Weld, maybe even down and dirty hot glue. I'm going to do some thinking on this and figure out which method I want to go with. I will report back in the next clip and let you know what I decided. Right, so I decided to double down on the adhesion. I've taken some 3M double-sided tape and I've applied it to the bottom side of both of my brackets. Now my brackets are stuck to my wireless charger. Also decided to use some SEM plastic leather prep, maybe a little overkill, but I wanted to spray down the bottom of this wireless charger. This 3M double-sided tape can be a little finicky if you've got any sort of oil or grease on it. And I really don't want this thing coming off, let's be honest. So next step is permanently fixing this to the bottom of the console. Okay, so here we are in the drying process. Now obviously this looks like a bit of a disaster, but it's hard to get clamps on everything while you're letting this glue set. So decided to go with JB Weld, an ever so slight bit of it, probably a little overkill, but it's gonna hold, especially for something like this. So here's what it looks like while we are in the drying process. Had to use some rough cut steel stock that I had laying around the shop here, so and a socket. Yeah, I'll let you know how this all turns out here. Gonna let this sit overnight and show you the finished product in the morning. Right, so now we're fully installed. As I mentioned, used a little bit of JB Weld. I got some 3M tape on these parts here. Add a little extra hold. Didn't use a lot of JB Weld in here, right? It doesn't take much. That stuff's way stronger than what we're about to use it for. But now, full disclosure, I have test fitted this on the other portion of my console. And I'm about to try and show you what I have found. So, I'm gonna go drop this on. Okay. In place. Kind of, right? I've got a pretty big gap back here. So, what I've come to find out is we might have to do some trimming if I want to use this style of charger. So, yeah. Obviously, you could use a different charger. You could have even probably hunkered this charger down into the bottom corner, but I mean, the idea behind this thing is you want it centered here, right? So you can drop your phone in it. You don't want to have your phone over here or whatever. So, yeah, gonna dive into a little bit more surgery here in order to make this fly. So stand by, more to come. Right, so I am fortunate enough to have a test dummy to run my cuts on before I go and cut mine all up. And now before anybody gets all out of whack that I'm cutting up a black Foxbody interior piece, keep in mind this thing is completely hooped. Some bozo rested his cigarettes in there. I mean, it's seen better days. But anyway, cut this all up and yeah, fits perfectly. So it's not a ton of material that needs to be removed, but you know, a little bit just to make this happen. It's the minimal amount. Test fitted it, it works perfect. So essentially what you got to do is cut here and down, here, down, and then you knock this little 90-degree lip off. You can see here how much of it I took off. And then, yeah, obviously got to clean that all up on mine, but yeah, fits good. So I'm going to get after cutting this one and I will show you the results. All right, so we are all trimmed up. Now, I'll show you the pieces that I've taken out. Not a ton of material. As you can see, I went at it once, had to get a little bit more out of there. I used nothing more than a standard Dremel with a cutoff wheel. Nothing fancy to get this cut. Fairly easy to get through there. Give you a little look at the underside of this. So there it is. Nice and square, sitting flat. Give you a quick view of the underneath here too. So here's the cut, right? As you can see, I went a little heavy on what I thought I had to take out. Measured twice, cut once. Got a flat cut here, flat cut here. And then in order to make this cut, you can see the 45 that it's on. I just went in on an angle on it and took that out. So, and yeah, it doesn't weaken this up much, right? This piece rests on a steel bracket that is on your transmission hump. These two screws more or less just hold this from going back and forth. So you're not removing anything structural by any means, but that is the material you need to remove out of this portion of your console in order to fit this. Just going to give you a quick view on how I held everything in place here. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you like, but I just kind of did a bit of a zip tie scenario here to keep everything nice and tight. Obviously out of the way of my power mirror plug. And you are somewhat dealing with, you know, like relatively tight tolerances in here, but like I was mentioning earlier here, so yeah, this steel bracket, right? This plastic piece that I cut, it screws into this steel bracket, right? So I mean, it's got lots of support here still, so no need to worry about cutting this corner out of here, but I'll get it in here and I will show you the final result of wirelessly charging my phone. All right, so here's the final product. Well, in my case, somewhat final. I don't have a transmission in my car right now, so this console will not be staying in, but I thought for summarization purposes of the video, I would put it in to show you how it works. Now, I have wired this charger off of accessory power. Obviously, you could do it off of battery power if you wanted, but I thought accessory would probably be the most responsible way of doing this. So, with that being said, I will turn my key to accessory and show you the results. There you go. Charging. Now, as you can see, my phone is in there in an awkward manner. It's not straight. This is why I wanted to position the charger like I did, so it doesn't matter how your phone is situated in that compartment, it's always charging. The other thing I'll mention is obviously this charger works through the plastic and it also works through my case. Now, this isn't by any means a huge like OtterBox type case, but it's a big enough case that it blocks the camera, so gives you an idea of how thick my case is. Anyway, and it gets through the case and the plastic. So, charging. Yeah, there you have it. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps some people out there with the lack of charging capabilities you have when you go to this late model restoration center console. But by all means, comment below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll help you out. And or let me know if maybe you got some different way that you've done it. This was the way that I thought was probably the best, but you never know. There's always something else. So as always, thanks again for watching, and I hope this video finds you well. Take care.